Fire. One of the coolest powers in fiction. And real life too. A beautiful phenomenon, eye-catching and mesmerizing. An intense ability with the power to help build the world or destroy it. But if you were given this ability, if you were given fire powers, like you've seen in fiction, how would you use them? Hey, so I'm back, making another one of these videos. Today, hold on. Gotta set the mood. Today, I'm gonna be talking about fire. Yeah, that. But before I do that, as always, why am I saying as always, like this isn't the second time I've done this? But anyway, I'm gonna go over two things. One is defining the power that you have in this scenario. And then two is like the rules, like what's happening, so you don't get too lost and I guess distracted by other stuff that's not as interesting. So number one, what is the power exactly? Well, as you probably saw in the intro, I probably put some Avatar clips in there, clips from other fire media, but here's what I'm thinking. Just think Avatar: The Last Airbender and that kind of fire bending, but throw in being able to be immune to fire yourself. So you know, sorry Zuko. But anyway, that's the power. Control, manipulate, produce, think Avatar, but you're able to withstand fire yourself. So there you go. Now, two, what are the rules here? Because if I don't go over this now, people are going to take this all in every direction and it's gonna not be coherent at all. Or really, there's only one thing that's gonna happen. People are gonna say, if you had this power, you know what would happen? Nothing, because you'd be snatched up by the government and they would take you and they would experiment on you like a rat and they would do all kinds of things and poke you with stuff. And whatever power you have, either if it's too weak, you get kidnapped by the government. If it's too strong, then government tries to fight you and you just win. But either way, you can't act normal, which is kind of the point of this. I wanted to ask, what would you do to make money if you had superpowers? Not just what would you do if you had superpowers. Let's just pretend, since this is fantasy anyway, that when you have these powers, it's just normal. Okay, you're a little bit more special than everybody, which is going to be important later. But people don't freak out and the government tries to kidnap you and experiments and all this other stuff, because that's what everyone says when you bring up these scenarios, and honestly, it's just kind of boring. So we're going to skip over that. No government experimental stuff. You're a normal person. You just have these powers and you can use them to get a normal job and use them to help you with your job and use them to make money or use them to sell stuff, whatever the case is. You can use them normally. So that's the scenario. But also another thing is you have to make money without being evil. Yes, so no robbing banks or just burning people because that will make you money somehow. None of that. Okay, you're not evil. You're not going to be using them for evil. How do you make money without being evil? Because if you were evil, you'd probably just rob banks, which that's the default answer that everyone goes to. What would happen if you had these powers? I would rob someone. I would rob a bank. I would rob you right now, which is also boring. So that's the scenario. Those are the powers. That's the scenario. Those are your ethics, which is wrapped into the scenario. So yeah, so that's how it is. You have fire powers. Government doesn't act crazy. No one's going insane. And you are not evil. And with those two things out of the way, let's begin. All right, so what awesome idea did I come up with for the first thing? Here it is. Saving money on electricity by using your fire powers instead of household appliances. Now, I know it isn't fancy. I started with ideas that made you the least amount of money first, and then we're gonna build up to stuff that is more and more, gives you more money and is also more interesting. Plus, this isn't technically even making money, it's just saving money that you've already made, so it's just money you don't have to spend. But hey, you could do cool stuff like heat your tea, make your own food by heating the pot, heating the actual kettle by making a fire. I'm not exactly sure how much electricity you would be saving and how much that translates into how much money you would be saving by saving that electricity, but you would save something and you would help the environment, maybe save the animals, save turtles are good, save turtles. But instead of doing stuff for yourself to help you save a little bit of money here and there, you could do stuff for other people to help you save, or rather make, a lot of money. Like, for instance, you could join the circus. Now, I know what you're all saying. The circus? Hey, don't hate on the circus. In fact, the median salary for a circus performer is about $35,000. That bumps up to about $75,000 if you're a top performer. Plus, if you're a traveling circus, you get to, go all around the world showing your talents to different people. And hey, maybe you don't have to be a nice clown or circus performer. You could do something like it. Yeah. Maybe work at a haunted house. Don't want to get fire on the customers though, so that might be a hazard. But just imagine, you spend your life performing cheap fire tricks for easy cash. What could be better? Well, how about the next thing? Now, this section I just called jobs, and that's because they're all kind of the same. You'll see that in a second. So let me just list off a few. You could be a blacksmith and make things, make weapons, make all kinds of stuff, melting the metal and using your heat for that. You could also be a firefighter, which I forgot to mention. When I said manipulate, I also meant like absorbing, so you could stop fire too. I don't know if that was in Avatar actually, but that's included. So you could work as a firefighter. You can go inside the building when it's hot, rescue people, it won't hurt you. You could suck the fire out of the building. You could do all kinds of stuff. If you feel that you were destined to be famous, you could go into Hollywood and work in pyrotechnics, doing like the stunt work and helping out with that kind of stuff, doing all sorts of tricks to make it really pop on the screen. Then we wouldn't have to use so much CGI, so that's a plus. But if you notice, all of those are jobs which you get paid a salary to work. And here's the thing, these jobs all require the use of fire or working with fire, and there's already tools in place to get the job done. So if you brought your own fire, your own heat, would that mean that you're paid more, or would they just pay you the salary like every other person who works there? Like, for instance, if you're a blacksmith, let's say you need to heat something a lot to melt the metal, right? If you show up to like your work site and there's already a machine ready to do this for everyone who doesn't have fire powers, which is everyone in the world except for you, if you decide not to use the machine and instead use your own fire, does that mean that they're just gonna give you more money now? Because I don't think so. It's like if you work in pyrotechnics and you're able to do the stunt work, are you gonna get paid more than someone who doesn't use their own fire powers? If you work as a firefighter, do you get paid more than a regular firefighter because you can put out fires faster? Firefighters don't work on a commission basis, and neither do pyrotechnics, and I don't think blacksmiths do either. So your firepower would not increase the amount of money that you're making from these jobs. You would just be working the job. You don't get extra pay just because you brung your own heat to work. Now, maybe you could negotiate something in which, because you have fire powers, you say, I want to be paid more than everyone else, and you probably could make a good case. I don't know. I don't know if it would really work for being a blacksmith. I could see a firefighter probably, because you could put out fires way faster, and so you're a huge asset. So maybe you could negotiate a higher pay than everybody. But for other things, I don't think they would care. Would they care? Maybe in pyrotechnics, because you're saving the company money and they don't have to set up fire machines and stuff like that. It's tough. It's tough. No one can say for sure in this imaginary scenario. But despite how special you would be, they would probably do their best to pay you the same as everyone else. because why not? They're a company and they're all about the big bucks. So one can only speculate. But when you get sick of the soul-sucking work of Hollywood, you can always go into environmental work. What I mean here is controlled burns. And I was interested as to how burning stuff would make stuff better. And so I looked into it, and it's a lot more helpful than I thought. For one, you can get rid of accumulated biomass like dead leaves, fallen branches, sticks all over the place, other plant material. They call this fuel load, apparently, and if left unchecked, it could cause a fire. It could be a fire hazard. So I guess it's just materials that would be easy to start a fire with, and it would burn easily. So getting rid of it with a controlled burn early prevents out of control burn later. You can also get rid of weed and invasive plant species. So that controlling that helps with that as well. I read a little bit about nutrient cycling as well. There is nutrients tied in the dead plant material, and when you burn it, it releases it and helps new plant material, new growth. It benefits it. So you're pushing along the nutrients quicker, which I guess is good. Now this one's probably the coolest one, increasing the biodiversity. So there are some plants that actually activate with fire. They progress only when they have intense heat, which I thought was so cool. So controlled burns actually helps these fire adapted species of plants. So you'll get more biodiversity that way and increase the number of the coolest plants. Or I guess they're the hottest, right? One thing that you probably thought of doing was burning trash that is in like landfills, and I thought that would be a good idea too until I looked it up. What I found with the little bit of research I didn't do much research on any of this stuff actually, just enough so that I could know what it is and what's going on a little bit so that I can do a video about it. Anyway, what I heard is that burning waste releases toxins into the air, and I thought it was one of the best things that you could do with fire powers, but it might release toxins into the atmosphere. So yeah, in any case, you could partner with some kind of company and probably work out a contract where you would get lots of money for these controlled burns. Now, you could use your powers to partner with companies or governments in order to explore dangerous areas that humans can't go normally or at all. And if you want a good example of this, well, here it is. In 1970, the Soviets started drilling a hole into the earth. They wanted to see how far they could go. They drilled down about 40,000 feet, or about 12,000 meters. The drilling stopped in 1992, and shortly after that, it was all over. But why did they stop initially? Well, one of the main reasons is because of the heat. The temperatures that they experienced down there were far greater than what they thought they would be. Temperatures reached 365 degrees Fahrenheit, or 180 degrees Celsius. And with the earth being too hot to handle, they had to stop. And that's where you come in. Perhaps scientists build or dig a bigger hole, and you can go down there and actually do things or stuff. You can withstand the temperatures down there, so you can mine, bring stuff back up, dig even further. It would still be difficult because I heard that it was the tools that they were using was getting too hot. Maybe you could go down there with a shovel and just dig some more. I don't know. Go down there and dig and dig and dig, and maybe you'll get paid handsomely for doing that. But it sure is interesting. Maybe you could navigate some volcanoes, or maybe you could be sent to a planet that's hotter. But then, you get into other questions like your equipment. Is your equipment also hot? Does your equipment also have the ability? Yeah, this one's tricky because it's the stuff you're wearing, and then it's also beyond the stuff you're wearing, the equipment you're using to gather stuff or collect stuff. Would that be able to withstand anything? And then how would you bring stuff back? So maybe all of it would be observations instead of actually collecting stuff. I'm not going to go any further into this point because there's something better than all of these options probably combined. But at the same time, it's like the goofiest one. Anyway, I should probably just get into it. I still got a little bit more to say, but before I do, hit the like button. It helps more than you know. And consider subscribing as well. But even if you don't want to subscribe and you're just passing through, you happen to see this video in your recommendations, just hit the like button. It helps a lot. the final thing that I thought of was becoming a social media influencer. You thought we were done with Hollywood. Well, yes, but actually no. Now, I know what I said in the beginning. I said the world wouldn't act crazy, the government wouldn't try to come after you, everyone acts normal. But what I meant was, if you listened, I still said you're special. It's just nobody freaks out and becomes like, it's not like, oh my God, you're doing the impossible, you're breaking the laws of physics, and we're all gonna go into an existential crisis. You're still special, and no one else has these powers. So what you could do is just start posting stuff on social media about you doing fire tricks, or you burning something, or you sucking the fire out of something, or something like that. And I'm sure you'll become an internet sensation overnight. And all you have to do is just keep it up. When people get famous and they don't really have any talent at all, you just have to live life like what is it? A reality show. You can do a reality show. That's what people do when they're talentless, right? I'm messing around, obviously. Am I? But yeah, go on, start a reality show, start a clothes business, call it Fire Hamzah brand, start a cereal, call it Fire Flakes, start a shoe business, a hat business, Fire brand music, Fire brand toothpaste, Fire chips, Fire candy, Fire. Basically just become a global, world recognized brand where you just do fire stuff and you sell fire merchandise and put your name on it, and yeah, you'd probably become world famous. You'd probably become richer than doing all of the stuff I mentioned before. It's not working as a blacksmith to create something valuable, some kind of metal, something to help people out. It's not working for the environment to make the world a better place. But hey, you're rich. And that was the point of this video. So that is how I see it. That is how I think you would make the most money ever, is if you just use your powers. Now, I can't see how this would be like, in the beginning of the video where I was saying I gotta restrict it or else people are gonna take the cheap way out. This is one of the cheap ways out, okay? It's not the government is always just gonna snag you or you're just gonna rob banks. Instead, this is just use your power to become famous. Like the last video I did on this, the one where I was talking about the Infinity Stone, the Time Stone. I could have just said in that video, use the Time Stone to become famous. Go on news shows and talk about how you have the Time Stone and you can do time stuff, and then sell time merchandise and put it on a shirt. Clothes are so bad, you'll never wear it a second time. It's the novelty of the thing that matters. And so that is how I see you gaining the most money, by being a social media influencer, star, maybe start drama for no reason to keep yourself relevant, and definitely that reality show will probably help you out. So in conclusion, fire turned out to be a very difficult power to make money with. Like, I was scouring some forums, and a lot of people, it was like hard to find much use for it at all, let alone to make millions of dollars compared to other powers. At least you have to get inventive when you're working with fire, and I thought I was going to come up with all these ideas about how to use fire to be filthy stinking rich in no time, and it turns out it's really not that easy. Way less easy than the Time Stone. That I could think of so many ways, even more than what I mentioned in that video. For fire, it was difficult to find a way to become as rich as possible in as little time as possible, simply by having the power to control fire and produce it and manipulate it and be immune to it. Even with all of that, the world is still a hard place to live in. And even when you have amazing powers beyond what people have, when you have impossible abilities, you might still have to work at 9 to 5. And that's when it finally hits you that although you have a power and ability that's beyond what anyone else has, as special as you are, you really weren't special at all. Not unless you have a power that's more useful than fire for making money. But I want to hear your thoughts. How would you make money? Put in the comment section how you would make money if you had fire powers with the restrictions that I placed. Stay away from those banks. But think about it. Use your imagination and explore your thoughts. But without further ado, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.